So as we get ready for day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft with rounds 2 and 3 starting at 8 o'clock, the biggest discussion is going to be about Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders and where he could potentially go. With a lot of us, including myself, was very surprised that he did not go in the first round at all. For me, in my last mock draft, I had him going 21st, so kind of the later stages of the first round. The Steelers pass over on the Giants, trade back up in the first with the 25th overall pick. They pick a different quarterback than Jackson Dart, and we're sitting here wondering what the future is for Shedeur and where he's going to go. So it's already an embarrassment for both, Deion and Shedeur that he's not going the first. If he does not go in the second at all, which would be wild if it doesn't, that would be even more embarrassing for that family. But I do expect him to go in the second round, and we're talking about the teams that he can go to, and it's not going to be a big in-depth discussion because there's only very few teams that can take him, and will, of course, for me going relatively high. So you look at Cleveland; they are, of course, I saw one report that they're the betting favorites, as they should be, because they have two picks in the first four, 2 picks in the first 4 picks of the second round, 33 and 36. They don't have to take Shedeur Sanders 33rd overall. Now, is there a team that might jump up into that category, like the Raiders, who we'll talk about in a second? The Saints could be another team. Outside of that, I don't see anything else. I mean, outside chance, maybe the Jets could be a discussion. I don't see that. I mean, if the way it plays out right now, you don't have to worry because you have the Texans, of course, with C.J. Stroud and the Tennessee Titans, who just took Cam Ward first overall. So you could pass over Shedeur Sanders at 33 and take him at 36 and take the other skill position players that fell out of the first that maybe was shocking for some people. I'll leave a link down below for my round 1 review, as well as, of course, you'll see a thumbnail on a picture of it to show you what it looks like. But in that, and part of it towards the end, I go in discussion of players that I was surprised that went out of the first round. I'll re-put the picture up there for the list I had there. The gold names or the yellow names are highlighted as teams that are players that I was surprised that fell out of the first round that I had in my mock draft, or players that I thought that could have been first round picks. So you look at what they have there. Mike Green, if you wanted to have that fantasy, of course, of just adding someone alongside Myles Garrett, which there was a discussion with Abdul Carter at one point. You certainly have that. Cornerback is certainly an option with Will Johnson, but the injury concerns, especially for his knee and his long-term future in the NFL, with them, if of course you watch the draft, they kind of talked about the concerns with going into the second contract for Will Johnson in his career. So really, you kind of look at it as you have to prepare yourself of maybe him just being a one contract player and him only lasting 5 years at most in NFL because of the concerns with his knee injury. But if you want to take him, hey, it's a first round talent going to the second round to be a great pairing for Denzel Ward. And if you believe yourself, whether delusional or not, that you can contend, that's a great selection there. If you want to add wide receiver help, you have Luther Burden at that spot too, a player that I didn't have in my last mock draft going in the first round, but I thought he could have been certainly a first round talent. He falls to the second round, so that's certainly a wide receiving help there as well. You can pair him up with Jerry Jeudy. If you want to go with Donovan again, Simi too, with the pairing with Myles Garrett, you do have Trey Amos if you're not comfortable with Will Johnson, and as well as Nick Scorin too, and then you have the other corners as well, if that's certainly a possibility with Chevelle Reveal, Benjamin Morris, Darian Porter, Thomas as well. So for me, if it is the Browns, don't expect them to go 33rd overall because I think they will take a skill position, but certainly the Browns are the betting favorites. They need to have a quarterback still. There is no option outside of that. You have Kenny Pickett there. You have Joe Flacco back, but those are just stopgaps. And, of course, they're just getting ready for next year for 2026 when Deshaun Watson comes back. Maybe at that point, they'll figure out something with the cap situation. I don't know. I can't remember what the dead cap was for Deshaun Watson, but certainly you're looking for a way out as soon as possible. But you still need your franchise quarterback, and I think that'd be a good selection there where you trade back, you get more picks, and you still get your franchise quarterback, who some people have thought, including myself, was a first-round talent, falling into the second round, and he can sit a year and develop. Now, it would have been better if they would have stayed put at second overall and got Travis Hunter and then Shedeur Sanders. That would have been crazy. But again, smart picks. They got an extra first-round pick next year, which, depending on what happens with Jacksonville, could be a great selection. So you have Cleveland there, which is to me will be my number one target, number one team to go to. The next one is the Las Vegas Raiders, which is at 37. And for this one, you might have to trade up to get that. If you feel there's a threat for Cleveland to take Shedeur Sanders, you have to trade up between probably 34 and 35. Or if there's a threat in general, they might just take him 33rd overall. So in that case, you have to try to trade up there, or it may not be available. who knows with that. But if for some reason he does fall past 33 and 36 and they have no interest in him, I could see the Las Vegas Raiders being one. And this was a team that was kind of pinned with Shedeur Sanders early on in the process. I think it'd be a good situation there with Pete Carroll sitting behind Geno Smith for a year or two and adding pieces there. You have Brock Bowers, who had a historic rookie season. They just added Ashton Jenney with the 6th overall pick, so you have a great running game there. They're trying to build the offensive line up a little bit better. Defense has some good pieces, but still has a lot of work to do. I think it would be a decent spot there for Shedeur Sanders as well because of Geno Smith. Even though they signed him to the contract that they did, of course, we all know he's not the long-term option. It does bring stability, respectable name to that position. You're still looking for your franchise quarterback, and the Raiders can certainly be a spot where he could sit a year or two and develop and then come in and be the starter. And if you care about the whole arm strength and situation-wise, they play in a dome, so that's another plus for that as well. The other one, which I had, not for my final one, but for 7.0, I have them way too really high compared to what's going on now. I had the Saints taking Shedeur Sanders in my 7.0, 9th overall. This is a similar situation too, dome, if you care about the whole arm strength thing, as well as just Kellen Moore coming in as a new head coach. I think he wants to start fresh with a quarterback position, and there's for right now. I don't know what's going to happen with Derek Carr because of the injury and the money situation. But long term wise, he's not the option. He's not the answer for them moving forward. He's been an okay at times, a good quarterback early on in his career, but nothing special right now as his point of his career right now, and I think they have to start fresh with a new quarterback, and I think Shedeur Sanders would be a great pairing, especially with if you're looking about the head coaching wise, with Kellen Moore being an offensive minded coach. You saw the success he had with the Dallas Cowboys, the Chargers, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, with them winning the Super Bowl, and he's done a lot of good things with those quarterbacks as well. So I think that'd be a great help, a great duo if you care about quarterback and head coach relationships and what they can do for each other. That certainly would be a great spot there for the Saints at 40. Again, that's something you might have to trade up for, or who knows, it could shock everyone again, and he just keeps falling, and he falls to 40. And the last team I'm going to throw out there is the New York Jets. For this one, they seem pretty put with Justin Fields at the spot there being quarterback one. Of course, you saw what they did in the first round, getting a Mumbo 7th overall, so they are building the trenches of the offensive line and helping Justin Fields out. That one still, is there a possibility he can just take off and he can have a great season this year and it shows like, hey, this could be our franchise quarterback moving forward? Of course, with that, but still, I think quarterback should still be in discussion because of just what we've seen right in the sample size we've seen thus far with Justin Fields. It hasn't been anything crazy, anything spectacular. I think he did a good job with the Steelers, but it's nothing too flashy. I thought he should have, even though, with that being said, I think he should have still played. And should have been the starter still for the Steelers as opposed to Russell Wilson because of just losing that mobility aspect, the running game for Justin Fields as well. But for that one, again, nothing too spectacular in his Bears tenure as well as his 1 year or his 6 games with the Steelers. But still, he might have an opportunity where he can just ball out and just prove people like, yeah, I can be the franchise quarterback. I can be a respectable quarterback in NFL. In that case, it would pass a bunch of door. But again, I think that Shedeur should still be in consideration for this spot here. As right now, like my early reaction for Aaron Glenn, I like him. Who knows what's going to happen with him because of the whole dysfunction with the Jets. But I like what they have in place there. A lot of good pieces still on that side of the ball, especially offensively. It's just the offensive line that has to really get built for that. And something Shedeur Sanders really needs for that. That was another concern for him, was just the sacks and so forth. And holding on to the ball too long. But again, outside chance, maybe the Jets could be that one for another pick at 42. Outside of that, I don't really see anything else. If you want to throw in, just dark horses or wild card teams, just throwing teams out there. The Rams, just because of long-term option with Matthew Stafford, and Seattle too. That could certainly be a possibility as well. Even though they just signed Sam Darnold, and I don't really care too much about for Sam Howell as well. And after that's pretty much it. Outside of that, nothing too else. So it really comes down to, for me, the top 3 picks. Again, Cleveland should be no doubt the consensus, or they might go in a different route, the quarterback position with Jalen Milroe. That's certainly a possibility with that one. But for me, I would say Cleveland 1, Cleveland 1, Raiders 2, Saints 3, which of course is the order that they draft in, which is I think it's pretty fair to say. But no doubt for me, Cleveland would be the betting favorites to get them, just because of having 2 of the top 4 picks in the second round for that one, either 33 or 36. So we'll see what happens with Shedeur Sanders, if he falls even more or he gets taken right away with the first pick in the second round.